Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and I'm going to be talking about my TBR for January 2019. So it's 2019 and that means that it's a whole nother year of reading, a whole nother year of goals and everything that goes along with that. So I'm changing up my TBR videos just a little bit. I have done away with my TBR jar and in place I have changed it out with the TBR wheel. Now I got this idea from Cody over at Cody's Book Corner, and I'll link her TBR videos down in the description below. But I don't have an actual physical wheel to spin, so I'm using an app called Tiny Decisions, and I'll just kind of overlay the screen recording of the wheel spinning because it's the best I can do until I actually have like a real wheel. Sure. So, on that wheel, there's just a whole bunch of different prompts. My goal for this year is to read these books. I need to read my owned books. And so I am kind of focusing on that. There are a couple of prompts in there for like my Kindle library and ARCs and things like that, just because I also want to make sure that those are getting read. But for the most part, I really want to make sure that I'm reading these books. Before I do that, I do want to talk about the 3 books that I'm going to be reading as part of group reads or buddy reads. The first one is the book club that I run with Kylie over on Facebook, and I will link that group down in the description below. But for January, we are going to be reading Circe by Madeline Miller. That was the book that was chosen, and so my physical copy of this won't be here for a little while. It's gonna be in my book of the month subscription box because it was the 2018 book of the year, so I wanted to get that, and yeah, so that'll be here, but it's just not here yet. So until then, I will listen to it on audio. Then I'm also going to be participating in the Game of Thrones read-along. There we go, that's the right word. With Becca from Becca in the Books and Cody and a whole bunch of other different people, and so I'm going to be starting a Game of Thrones. Technically I will be reading this book in 2 months, so I only need to get like halfway through it this month, but look how dense that is. Like this is gonna be a chunker. So I'm spinning the wheel 5 times, which means I technically have 8 books on my TBR. So we'll see how ambitious we can be while reading these as well. I might have to back out my TBRs for the months that I'm reading these. We'll just have to see. So I do also have these on audio. I know I have at least the first one on audio, so that might also be an option. The last read-along book that I am participating in is the Hunger Games read-along, and that is hosted by Rhiannon from Crescent Moon Reigns. So I will be reading the first book, The Hunger Games, and then in February we'll do Catching Fire, and then March we'll do Mockingjay. So I have not read these books in a very long time, so I'm very excited about these. Alright, so let's go ahead and spin the wheel, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the wheel, talk about what's on the wheel, and then we'll spin it and pick my books. So let's get started. So as you can see, I have a ton of different prompts on here that will just help me kind of read my own books. I have things like big book or small book, so over 500 pages, under 200 pages. I have out of my comfort zone, so not a contemporary. Diverse, which basically means that it's going to be a diverse protagonist or a own voices book, something like that. I do have a couple on here that are the Pop Sugar Challenge, and that just means that it'll be a prompt for the Pop Sugar Challenge. I can pick whichever one I want. Beautiful cover, so a book that I bought as a cover buy, or just one that has a fantastic cover. A TBR vet, so something that's been on my TBR for a very long time. I have highest and lowest rated books, which basically mean that I'm going to go on to Goodreads and figure out which one was my highest, which one has the highest average ratings, lowest average ratings, that kind of thing. I am giving myself the chance to reread books, so I put that as a prompt.
booktuber recommendation. So basically a book that I bought because a booktuber said it was really good. Yeah, so just a lot of different things. I have a Twitter pick on here, so if I roll that one, if I spend that one, I will pick two and then put a poll on Twitter, and you guys can pick. Kindle library means that I'll pick something off of my e-reader. Book of the month will just be basically, because I'm really behind on my book of the month purchases, so be reading one of those. A new to me author, pretty self-explanatory. So other than that, I have recent purchases on here, things like that. So I might change things up in the months to come and see if I like different prompts. But for now, this is what we're going to go with. And with that being said, let's go ahead and spin the wheel.
So a beautiful cover. For that one, I am going to choose Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I mean, that's a pretty beautiful cover. Just say that. And this is a book that is definitely one that I want to read this year. I should have read it last year and never did. And so I'm trying to be really cognizant of the Pop Sugar Challenge when I'm picking out these books and making sure that they're ones that will fit challenges. Obviously, being January, we have a whole new set of challenges, and so it's easy to pick them right now. So my goal is to like get as many of them done as possible at the beginning of the year, so that way I'm not like I did last year and like get to the end of it and just wasn't really, I like felt like I had to do it, and so that was, I don't want to do that again. So this will complete a challenge for a book. It could complete several. It could be a debut novel. It also could be a book that should be turned into a movie. Maybe. I don't know. That's a weird prompt because like, how do you know if it should be turned into a movie until after you read it? But I've heard that it could, so we'll see. Okay, so ARC. So I went on NetGalley and tried to pick one that either had just come out or is coming out really soon. I actually have several ARCs that are coming out in January, so I may end up adding those to this as well. But this one actually came out on December 24th, and so I definitely want to get to it before it's like way too late. And it has really good reviews on Goodreads. So I'm going to be reading Make Believe by Ariel Italics, I believe is how you say that name, but I could be wrong. And this is a romantic suspense, and there's not a lot of description on either NetGalley or Goodreads, so I'm kind of intrigued by it. But the cover is beautiful, and I'm excited. So I wanted to make sure that I put this prompt into my TBR wheel just because I want to be able to give myself permission to reread books. And while this one technically is also completing a Pop Sugar Challenge, so like I guess I kind of am doubling up here, I do want to be able to reread some of my favorite books. And I read this one, I would say probably 2 years ago, so it's been a couple of years, but that is Can I See You Again by Allison Morgan. This is a contemporary romance about a woman who is a like matchmaker, I believe, if I can remember correctly. So there is a fake dating trope in here, which I love. It's about a woman who's kind of got it all, and then her boyfriend decides to get cold feet and like runs away from the relationship, and so then she basically has to like come up with this fake boyfriend so that because she's a matchmaker, she doesn't want people to like realize that her love life is a mess, so she kind of has this fake relationship, and then obviously like as fake relationships go, they end up falling for each other, and then there's like the ex wants her back, and it was really, really good, and I loved it. And I remember like reading this and then thinking like, oh, I need to find like everything else about like I didn't realize that contemporary was this big of a genre, and so I was thinking, oh, I need to like I want another book just like this, and then then the rabbit trail began. So this one will complete the Pop Sugar Challenge for having a question in the title. So, and that's actually one that's like I've really been wanting to read, and like when I was thinking about which books I should like start on January 1st, that one was one that like maybe I thought like, I kind of want to read that one. So. Alright, so a booktuber recommendation, like, I really like to look at my shelves and be like, well, like 90% of these are booktuber recommendations. So, because I have a couple of contemporaries, I have a fantasy, I have a dystopian, I have a couple fantasies and a couple dystopians, so there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and add Scythe by Neil Shusterman to this. I actually have Thunderhead coming in my most recent book outlet haul. It's not even here yet, but I haven't read this one, and so I kind of feel bad for like hauling Thunderhead and not having read this one. So maybe like I'll read this one if I really, really like it. Then that'll give me the opportunity to go right into Thunderhead. Okay, and the last one is a recent purchase, and I have some books that are probably newer recent purchases, but I haven't even hauled them yet, and I don't want to like showcase a book here that I haven't hauled. Does that make sense? So I pulled one from my last haul, and there's a reason behind it. Like I'm having probably the most diverse month in reading in January, so that's kind of fun. But also I am getting 2 more books from this author, one in the series and one is another part of the series. They're also soon to come into my possession, so I figured I would finish out the normal part of the series. So I'm going to read The Crown by Kira Cass. It's a very short book with everything else that I have that I want to read. I feel like doing something really small and simple and easy we'll just kind of make it go fly by fast. Hoopla has this on audio, so I can do that if I want. And Rebecca Soler is the narrator for all of the selection series. And I love it when she is probably one of my favorite narrators. All right, so that is my January 2019 TBR. Let me know in the comments below if you have read any of these and which ones I should start with. I'm not sure if this is going up on January 1st or after. I'm not really sure yet. So which one should I start with? Anyways, if you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And until next time, I will see you all later.